Every man looks at a woman's body, but only 1 in 1,000 truly sees it. You can look at her chest, but only see its size, not her subconscious need for care or independence. You can look at her lips, but only see their shape, not their relationship with pleasure. You can look at her hips, but only see their curve, not her inner archetype of the huntress or the nurturer. And while 99% of men just skim the surface, an experienced man reads her body like an open book because her body cannot lie. And today, you and I are going to crack this code. We will break down 7 obvious keys to her physiology that will reveal the whole truth about her character, temperament, and true desires. And yes, we'll get to the most important part, the most intimate and honest signal her body sends, which most men interpret with catastrophic error. We will finally answer the question posed in the title of this video, what it really means when she is tight down there. Believe me, the answer has nothing to do with anatomy or her past experience, but it has everything to do with you and with how she feels next to you at this very moment. This knowledge is your ultimate lie detector, which I will reveal at the very end. But I'm only willing to share it with those who are ready to go all the way. So before we begin, I have a simple request. Hit the like button so I can see that this topic is as interesting to you as it is to me. And if you're here for the first time and aren't afraid of depth, subscribe because we don't do superficial topics here. And before we start, I'd love to know our geography. Please write what city you're from. Feature 1, her hips, the ancient signal of SDBI light. Well, let's start with the foundation, with what a man's gaze instinctively falls upon, even if he doesn't realize it. Her hips. This isn't just a part of her figure. It's the most ancient marker embedded in our subconscious by millions of years of evolution. Even before Carl Jung formulated his theory of archetypes, nature had already created 2 basic female images that a man reads from the shape of her hips. These are the nurturer archetype and the huntress archetype. A woman with wide-rounded hips is the embodiment of the nurturer archetype. On a subconscious level, a man sees in her a symbol of fertility, health, stability, and reliability. This is a genetic memory that shouts to him, here is a safe harbor. Here is the continuation of your lineage. Here is home. Physiologically, this is explained by a high level of estrogen, which shapes this type of figure responsible for accumulating resources and preparing for motherhood. But we are interested in the psychology. What is this woman like in life? The nurturer woman is most often more down to earth, calm and grounded. Her inner energy is directed inward, not outward to conquer the world, but to create comfort, harmony, and security. She values comfort, predictability, and financial stability. In a relationship, she's not looking for a roller coaster of emotions, but for a rock, a steady shoulder to lean on. She will be a wonderful homemaker, a caring mother, and a faithful partner to the man who can provide her with a sense of security. Her motto is, "My home is my castle." The mistake a man makes with her is trying to constantly pull her out of her comfort zone, suggest risky adventures, or live for today. For her, this isn't romance. It's a source of anxiety. Her love reveals itself not in spontaneous bursts of passion, but in daily, methodical care. Give her stability. Show the seriousness of your intentions. Build that castle for her, and you will get the most devoted and grateful woman imaginable. She is your rear guard, and this rear guard must be valued and protected. Now for the second pole. Narrow hips. The so-called boyish or androgynous figure. This is the huntress archetype. If the nurturer is earth and stability, the huntress is wind and movement. This body type is often formed by a higher level of androgens, the male hormones, which makes her more dynamic, sharp, and pronito risk-taking. The male subconscious reads her not as the mother of his offspring, but as an interesting rival, a worthy prize. Psychologically, the huntress woman is independent, active, and ambitious. She's focused outward on conquering peaks, whether in her career, sports, or creative pursuits. She values freedom more than comfort and growth more than stability. In a relationship, She seeks a partner, a ally, with whom she can conquer the world together. She will not tolerate control, overprotection, or attempts to lock her in a golden cage. Her motto is movement is life. She won't sit around and wait for you to solve her problems. She will go and solve them herself. The man's mistake here is trying to domesticate her and turn her into a nurturer. That's like trying to make an eagle live in a chicken coop. It will only lead to conflict and her departure. You need to speak her language of goals, achievements, and shared adventures. Be not a stone wall she can hide behind, but the other wing that helps her fly higher. Give her freedom, support her ambitions, become her loyal ally, and you will get not just a woman, but a powerful source of inspiration and energy that will push you both forward. She is your vanguard, and you need to keep up with this vanguard. Remember, neither type is better or worse than the other. They are simply two different operating systems, and your task is not to try to reinstall her system, but to understand which one she is and become the perfect user for her. The shape of her hips is the first and most honest clue, but this is just the outer contour, which we will fill in with more precise and intimate details as we approach the main secret of her body. Feature 2, her chest, the compass of emotion, and I died. Why, the next key we'll explore arouses no less, if not more primal interest in men, her chest. But as we agreed, we're looking at its essence, not its aesthetics. If hips are a marker of her life strategy, then her chest is the compass of her emotional world and her way of interacting with a partner. The size and shape of her chest are directly linked to her hormonal balance, particularly the levels of estrogen and prolactin, the hormones of femininity and motherhood. And this balance defines her psychological profile. Let's start with a small, neat or athletic chest. In a modern world obsessed with large forms, many men make the mistake of underestimating this type, and they shouldn't. A small chest often indicates a more androgynous hormonal balance where estrogen isn't totally dominant. Psychologically, this translates into a woman who often has a more analytical, intellectual mindset. Emotions are important to her, but they don't overwhelm her. She values logic, facts, and most importantly, a deep spiritual and intellectual connection with a man. Such a woman won't throw Italian-style tantrums over trivial matters. She isn't prone to drama. In a relationship, partnership, friendship, and shared interests come first for her. She is looking for a kindred spirit, someone she can talk to for hours about everything. For her, physical intimacy is not an act of animalistic passion, but the continuation and high point of a spiritual connection. If there's no mental bond between you, her body simply won't respond. She falls in love through the mind. The key to such a woman is your intellect, your sense of humor, your personality. Trying to win her over with expensive gifts or displays of status is a waste of time. Talk to her, listen to her, show her the depth of your inner world. Become the most interesting conversationalist for her, and she will become the most devoted lover for you. She doesn't choose a male, she chooses a person, and that is the strongest foundation for a long and happy relationship. Now let's move to the opposite pole, a large, full chest. This is a clear marker of high estrogen levels. It's the embodiment of femininity in its most classic natural expression. A man's subconscious reads this as a sign of health, fertility, and most importantly, the ability to nurture healthy offspring. But behind this physiology lies a deep psychology. A woman with a large chest is an ocean of emotions. Her emotional world is much richer, brighter, and more unstable. She lives by feelings. Her mood can change like the weather at sea. She can be affectionate and tender, and 5 minutes later hurt and vulnerable. These aren't whims, it's her nature. She has a heightened instinct to care, the very archetype of the mother. She wants to care, protect, feed, and heal. She will be the most tender and empathetic partner, surrounding you with total attention and warmth. But in return, she demands the same. She vitally needs hugs, words of love, confirmation of her importance, and above all, a sense of emotional security. The mistake Ammon makes here is trying to appeal to her logic during emotional outbursts. It's like putting out a fire with gasoline. When she's emotional, she doesn't need logic. She needs acceptance and love. Hug her. Tell her you love her, and only when the storm has passed can you calmly discuss everything. She is the embodiment of an element, and this element should be loved, not tamed. Give her maximum warmth, tenderness, and emotional involvement, and she will turn your life into the coziest and warmest home on earth. She falls in love through the heart, and of course there's the happy medium, a medium-sized firm chest. This is often a sign of balance. A balance between hormones, between emotions and logic, between the mother instinct and the partner instinct. Suture woman is typically the most harmonious. She is emotional enough to be tender and caring, but also rational enough not to drown in her feelings. She can be a passionate lover, a loyal friend, and a reliable partner. This is the universal type that combines the strengths of both poles. But even in this balance, there is always a slight tilt to one side or the other, and your task is to sense it. So we see that her chest is not just an object of desire, but an indicator of her emotional operating system. By understanding Thisky, you'll stop demanding a storm of passion from a logical woman and cold calculation from an emotional one. You will start speaking to each in her own language, and that's already halfway to her heart. And one more step toward understanding that main nonverbal signal we'll talk about at the end. Feature 3, her voice, the barometer of hidden NG-so. We've broken down 2 fundamental visual keys. Now let's move to an auditory one, her voice. Not what she says, but how she says it. Men make a huge mistake by focusing on the meaning of words and ignoring the music of her speech. Yet the voice, as old Freud once said, is a direct conduit for her libido, her life and sexual energy. It exposes her psychotype long before you get to a closer acquaintance. Let's look at the 2 main poles. The first pole is a high, perhaps slightly lilting or even gyrish voice. What is this from a psychological point of view? It's a voice that on a subconscious archetypal level is associated with youth, with a daughter, with the state of a little girl. A woman with such a voice, often even as a successful adult, retains elements of playfulness, a slight infantility, and most importantly, a subconscious request for protection. She seeks in a man not just a partner, but a father figure, a protector, someone who will take responsibility and create a safe space. When you hear such a voice, know that you are dealing with a woman for whom emotional foreplay, courtship, compliments, and a sense of fairy tale and security are extremely important. A raw approach, directness and pressure will cause not arousal but fear and rejection in her. She wants to be led to feel fragile and protected, and if you give her that feeling, she will open up in the most unexpected way. The mistake here is to mistake her infantility for foolishness. It's not. It's her way of interacting with the world and with a man, her request for a certain relationship scenario. Don't try to speak to her in the language of logic and numbers from the first meeting. Speak the language of emotions, protection, and care, and you will get the key to her trust. Now let's consider the second pole, a low, deep, velvety voice, sometimes with a slight huskiness or breathiness. If a high voice is a request for protection, a low voice is a broadcast of strength and confidence. This is the voice of a woman who is aware of her sexual energy and is not afraid of it. From a physiological standpoint, the timbre of the voice is directly related to the level of sex hormones, particularly testosterone, which in small amounts determines the level of libido in women as well. A woman with such a voice is not a girl. She's a queen. She is not looking for a protector. She is looking for an equal partner, or even someone who dares to challenge her. She values not so much care in a man's strength, intellect, and self-confidence. Empty compliments won't impress her. Actions, the scale of personality and deeds, will subservience and timidity are inappropriate when communicating with her. She reads this as weakness. Her low voice is a signal of a high sexual constitution and a readiness for a dialogue on equal terms. She is not afraid of frank conversations. She values directness and honesty. For here, foreplay is not so much about romance as it is an intellectual duel, a game in which she wants to see a worthy opponent. The mistake here is to be frightened by her strength or to try to break her. Play with her. Be one step ahead. Show your own depth and inner core. And then you will get not just a lover, but a powerful ally. And remember, no matter how strong she seems, even she needs to feel desired. But the path to that desire lies through respect for her strength. The voice is the vibration of her soul. Learn to listen not with your ears, but with your whole being. Feel this vibration. Is she asking for protection or throwing down a challenge? Does she sound like a stream or a deep river? The answer to this question will tell you the right tactic and save you from the biggest mistakes at the very start. And when you learn to hear her voice, you will be ready to see the next, even more revealing key. Feature 4, her lips, the gateway to sensuality. We are moving deeper. And our next stop is her lips. This is perhaps the most revealing and eroticized part of her face, and for good reason. In psychoanalysis, there is a direct connection between the lips on her face and other lips hidden from view. The shape of her lips is a map of her sensuality, her attitude towards pleasure, and her way of interacting with the world on the most basic oral level. Let's consider the first, most obvious option: full, plump, well-defined lips. This is a natural sign of high estrogen levels and good blood circulation. But for us, it is primarily a psychological signal. Plump lips are a sign of hedonism. This is a woman who loves and knows how to enjoy life. Food, music, touch, smells. She perceives the world through her senses. She's open, emotional, and expressive. Such a woman values the sensual side of life. Atmosphere, aesthetics, and foreplay in everything are important to her. A candle-lit dinner, beautiful music, pleasant to the touch fabrics, long kisses. This is her element. She lives by the principle of pleasure. She will not tolerate discomfort, be it uncomfortable shoes or a boring man. She is frank in showing her likes and dislikes. If she likes you, you'll know it immediately. If not, you'll know that too. The key to her is to appeal to all 5 of her senses. Surprise her with an exquisite dinner. Give her a cashmere scarf. Play music that makes her body move. There should be no rush in intimacy with her. Every kiss, every touch is important to her. She is a connoisseur of the process, not just the result. A man who tries to get to the main event quickly will be perceived by her as a barbarian. Be a gourmet, and she will open up to you like the most exotic flower. But remember, her openness and emotionality make her vulnerable. Do not betray her trust. Now for the second type, thin, tightly pressed or poorly defined lips. This is often a sign of amore, reserved, pragmatic and closed character. If a woman with full lips exhales her emotions into the world, a woman with thin lips, on the contrary, keeps them inside. This doesn't mean she has no feelings. She may have even more, but she's not used to showing them. This is a person of self-control. Now let's consider the second pole. A low, deep, velvety voice, sometimes with a slight huskiness or bryness. If a high voice is a request for protection, a low voice is a broadcast of strength and confidence. This is the voice of a woman who is aware of her sexual energy and is not afraid of it. From a physiological standpoint, the timbre of the voice is directly related to the level of sex hormones, particularly testosterone, which in small amounts determines the level of libido in women as well. A woman with such a voice is not a girl, she's a queen. She is not looking for a protector. She is looking for an equal partner, or even someone who dares to challenge her. She values not so much care in a man's strength, intellect, and self-confidence. Empty compliments won't impress her. Actions, the scale of personality, and deeds, will subservience and timidity are inappropriate when communicating with her. She reads this as weakness. Her low voice is a signal of a high sexual constitution and a readiness for a dialogue on equal terms. She is not afraid of frank conversations. She values directness and honesty. For her, foreplay is not so much about romance as it is an intellectual duel, a game in which she wants to see a worthy opponent. The mistake here is to be frightened by her strength or to try to break her. Play with her. Be one step ahead. Show your own depth and inner core, and then you will get not just a lover, but a powerful ally. And remember, no matter how strong she seems, even she needs to feel desired. But the path to that desire lies through respect for her strength. The voice is the vibration of her soul. Learn to listen not with your ears, but with your whole being. Feel this vibration. Is she asking for protection or throwing down a challenge? Does she sound like a stream or a deep river? The answer to this question will tell you the right tactic and save you from the biggest mistakes at the very start. And when you learn to hear her voice, you will be ready to see the next, even more revealing key. Feature 4, her lips, the gateway to sensuality. We are moving deeper, and our next stop is her lips. This is perhaps the most revealing and eroticized part of her face, and for good reason. In psychoanalysis, there is a direct connection between the lips on her face and other lips hidden from view. The shape of her lips is a map of her sensuality, her attitude towards pleasure, and her way of interacting with the world on the most basic oral level. Let's consider the first, most obvious option: full, plump, well-defined lips. This is a natural sign of high estrogen levels and good blood circulation. But for us, it is primarily a psychological signal. Plump lips are a sign of hedonism. This is a woman who loves and knows how to enjoy life. Food, music, touch, smells. She perceives the world through her senses. She is open, emotional, and expressive. Such a woman values the sensual side of life. Atmosphere, aesthetics, and foreplay in everything are important to her. A candle-lit dinner, beautiful music, pleasant to the touch fabrics, long kisses. This is her element. She lives by the principle of pleasure. She will not tolerate discomfort, be it uncomfortable shoes or a boring man. She is frank in showing her likes and dislikes. If she likes you, you'll know it immediately. If not, you'll know that too. The key to her is to appeal to all 5 of her senses. Surprise her with an exquisite dinner. Give her a cashmere scarf. Play music that makes her body move. There should be no rush in intimacy with her. Every kiss, every touch is important to her. She is a connoisseur of the process, not just thirst. A man who tries to get to the main event quickly will be perceived by her as a barbarian. Be a gourmet, and she will open up to you like the most exotic flower. But remember, her openness and emotionality make her vulnerable. Do not betray her trust. Now for the second type, thin, tightly pressed, or poorly defined lips. This is often a sign of a more reserved, pragmatic, and closed character. If a woman with full lips exhales her emotions into the world, a woman with thin lips, on the contrary, keeps them inside. This doesn't mean she has no feelings. She may have even more, but she's not used to showing them. This is a person of self-control. Of course, these are extremes, and in life mixed types are more common. But by learning to see the dominant trait, you will understand what is more important to her, beauty or function, words or deeds. You will understand what to expect from her and what she expects from you. And this knowledge is priceless. And it brings us to the penultimate, most subtle and most ancient key feature 6, her scent. The final compatibility TD come to the most ancient, most animalistic and most honest mechanism for choosing a partner, her scent. And I'm not talking about her perfume. Perfume is a mask, a social code, an attempt to be liked or to declare her status. I'm talking about her natural scent, the scent of her skin, her hair, her body after sleep or after a shower. This is the scent that cannot be faked and that you either accept 100% or you don't. There is no middle ground. Science calls these pheromones and talks about a complex system of signals related to our immune system. To put it simply, we are instinctively attracted to the scent of a person whose genetic makeup is as different from ours as possible. Nature thus ensures that offspring will be as healthy and viable as possible. But behind this dry science lies real magic, the magic of absolute and unconditional compatibility. If you are madly, dizzyingly in love with her natural scent, if you are ready to bury your nose in her neck or hair and just breathe and breathe and breathe, then I congratulate you. You've hit the genetic jackpot. This is the most powerful and most honest signal from nature that you are made for each other. Your biochemistry has perfectly matched. This means that at the deepest subconscious level, your body is telling you, yes, this is her. This is what I need. This signal bypasses all filters of logic, all social norms, all calculations. You can find 1,000 flaws in her, argue with her until you're hoarse, disagree on politics or movies. But if her scent to you is the scent of home, the scent of absolute comfort and attraction, everything else becomes secondary. This is the very foundation on which you can build anything, because your body has already made its choice and vice versa. If her natural scent is unpleasant to you, if you feel even the slightest rejection or discomfort, even if she seems perfect in every other way, run. You can convince yourself as much as you want that it's not important, that you can get used to it, that perfume will fix everything. It won't. Your body is screaming at you. No, this is a stranger. This is danger. To ignore this signal is to doom yourself to a relationship where there will never be true deep intimacy. It will be a union of two minds, but not of two bodies. And such a union is fragile and short-lived. Don't trust your eyes. They can be deceived. Don't trust your ears. They can hear lies. Trust your nose. It is the oldest and wisest of the senses. It remembers what your mind has long forgotten. It is directly connected to the limbic system, the center of our emotions and instincts. It gives you the final answer to the question, yours or not yours. And if the answer is yes, then you are ready for the final revelation to understand the most important and most dynamic indicator of her state, to unravel the secret of her tightness. Feature 7, her tightness. The ultimate lie. Deity have reached the finale. The cherry on top. The knowledge that separates a boy from a man. We will talk about the most intimate, most taboo, and most misunderstood signal of a woman's body, the one mentioned in the title about her tightness. And to begin, we must demolish the main and most destructive male myth. The myth that tightness or looseness is her innate anatomical feature, or even worse, an indicator of her number of past partners. Remember this once and for all. That is absolute nonsense. Nonsense invented either by very foolish or very insecure men to justify their own failures. In 99% of cases, it has nothing to do with her anatomy or her past. It has a direct 100% connection to you and to how she feels with you right here, right now, because her tightness is not a static object. It is a living, dynamic barometer that shows in real time the level of her trust and her arousal. It is the most honest lie detector that she cannot consciously control. Let's understand the mechanics. We are talking about muscles, a group of very specific so-called smooth muscles that respond not to conscious commands, but to signals from the autonomic nervous system. The same system that makes your heart beat faster when you're nervous, or your pupils dilate in the dark. You can't command your heart to beat slower. Likewise, she cannot command these muscles to contract or relax. It happens involuntarily, like a reflex, as a response to external and internal stimuli. And here's where it gets interesting. What is the stimulus? There are only two stimuli, and they must coincide. The first is peak sexual arousal, a primal animalistic desire. The second, and it's even more important than the first, is absolute psychological trust and a sense of security. Only when these two factors converge at one point does her brain send that involuntary signal, and her body responds. The muscles contract, creating that very effect of tightness. Thus, what men call tightness is actually the highest form of a female compliment. It's her body bypassing the filters of consciousness, screaming to you, yes, I want you and I trust you completely. I feel safe. She might desire a man but fear him, not trust him, feel like she's on a powder cake with him. And then her body will not respond. It will remain relaxed or even tense with fear, but that's a different kind of tension. She might trust a man as a best friend, think he's a wonderful person, but feel no sexual attraction to him. And her body will also remain silent. Only the synthesis of wild desire and absolute calm gives birth to this phenomenon. It is the physical embodiment of harmony in a relationship. And now for the other side of the coin. What does it mean if you feel looseness or emptiness? An ignorant man will conclude she's too experienced. A wise man will ask himself, what am I doing wrong? Because that looseness is a signal. It's an indicator on the dashboard that has lit up red, and it signals one of several problems. First, she's bored with you. You don't arouse any desire in her. You're doing everything mechanically, predictably, without fire. Second, and this is more common, she's afraid of you. She doesn't trust you. You are too harsh, too selfish, too rough. You haven't created an atmosphere of safety for her, and her body has instinctively closed off, not letting you in, not just physically, but emotionally. Third, she has psychological blocks or past traumas that your behavior has accidentally activated. What to do about it? Stop blaming her and take responsibility. You are the conductor of this orchestra. If the orchestra is out of tune, it's not the instrument's fault, but the conductor's. You are the one who creates the music. Ask yourself questions. Was the foreplay long enough and of high quality? And I'm not talking about 5 minutes of mechanical movements, but about emotional foreplay that lasted all day. Did you compliment her? Did you listen to her? Did you care for her? Does she feel like a queen next to you, or just an object for satisfying your needs? The answers to these questions are the key. This barometer is in your hands. You can make it go off the charts with your attention, your tenderness, your confidence, and your love. Or you can crash its needle to zero with your selfishness, indifference, and roughness. Stop taking her body for granted. Start perceiving it as your most honest conversation partner. Her tightness is an echo of your attitude towards her. As is the call, so is the echo. And if you learn to hear this echo, you will gain absolute power over her pleasure and her heart. Because you will become that one man who understood the main secret of her female nature. Conclusion: from user to master diagnostician. Today, we have traveled a path from a simple glance to a deep understanding. We learned that the shape of her hips speaks of her life strategy, and the size of her chest speaks of her emotional world. We learned to hear in her voice a request for protection or a challenge to a duel. We saw in her lips and fingers her attitude towards pleasure and daily life. We understood that her natural scent is nature's final verdict on your compatibility. And finally, we uncovered the main secret. We understood that the most intimate response of her body is not anatomy, but a barometer of your attitude towards her. These are the 7 keys that transform a man from a blind user of a woman's body into a seeing master diagnostician. Stop judging. Start reading. Her body is the most honest conversation partner you will ever have. It cannot lie. It is waiting for someone who will finally learn its language. And now the main question for you. I've shared 7 keys, but I know that the life experience of each of you is a priceless source of wisdom. What nonverbal signals from a woman's body have you encountered that told you more than words? What personal experiences of yours have confirmed or refuted what we talked about today? Write your story in the comments. Let's gather a real encyclopedia of male wisdom under this video.